Welcome to the Hiscall Technology Podcast, where we are communicating tomorrow's business needs today. From just outside Nashville, Tennessee, join Hiscall as we discuss all things telephony, data, and infrastructure related to business leaders. Here we go.
Welcome to a new year and a new episode of the Hiscall Technology Podcast. This is Chuck, and I'll be your host. As I record this podcast, the year 2019 is winding down, and when this podcast is made available, it will be a new year. Can you believe it's 2020 already? As one year ends and another begins, you may be considering purchasing new, replacing, or upgrading your communication system in 2020. Maybe you're simply purchasing new phones for your users. We see the UC manufacturers continue to enhance their device offerings. Avaya, Mitel, NEC, and Sangoma are the manufacturers with whom Hiscall partners, and then they've all introduced new desktop and or soft phone devices in the past year. As you consider your communications requirements for 2020, or maybe even your users' preferences for communicating with each other and your customers, how would you respond to these questions? How would your employees respond? Where do you primarily work? For example, do you primarily work in your own office or a shared workspace? Do your employees primarily work at home or work mobile? When communicating at work, do your employees most often use a dedicated phone, a shared phone, or a mobile phone? Do you currently use a soft phone application while at work? And what changes would you make to the communications device you use while working? We're going to explore these and some other questions on this episode of the podcast. The past couple of years, Avaya has conducted a survey of 1,200 workers to gain an understanding on the current state of desktop device usage in business communications. They published the results in the Avaya State of the Desktop Report. The findings from the report could spark some discussion and considerations for your business. According to the report, the Avaya survey included 1,200 full-time workers in the United States. The respondents are all split into three categories. Age group 1 is 18 to 29 years old. Age group 2 is 30 to 44 years. And age group 3 is 45 to 60 years of age. Now, this is important because it highlights different communications preferences among the age groups. Additionally, the report highlights communications preferences based on work location. Work at home and mobile workers have different preferences and expectations for communicating than those working in an office. As we enter into 2020, we continue to see more and more employees working outside the business office. Many businesses over the past few years have eliminated private offices and even cubicles for many employees. In place of the private offices, businesses have created open floor plans and shared workspaces with huddle rooms to facilitate improved team collaboration. In the survey, Avaya asked the participants to best describe their primary work environment from a list of choices. And it seems the business office continues to be the primary hub of business communications. The 2019 Avaya survey results do show a significant decline in users with a private office or cubicle versus the 2018 results. With this decline in dedicated office space, Avaya does report an increase in open floor plan, work at home, and mobile workers. The report shows that the location of employees has a significant impact on the communication preferences and the types of devices employees use or would like to use if they were available to them. Let's take mobile workers, for example. You would probably guess that mobile workers are much more likely to use mobile phones as their primary communications device than employees that report to an office every day. I find myself working across different environments depending upon the day. I have an office at our headquarters in Dixon, Tennessee, but I also work many days in my virtual office located at my house. Occasionally, I also work in our Knoxville office or from a coffee shop or hotel room in some other town. Regardless of employee work location, it's important to provide communication devices that provide efficient and effective communications with their teams, including your customers and vendors. I feel very fortunate to have many options at Hiscall, and I use several different communications tools. Hiscall provides me with an IP phone for my desk in Dixon, as well as an IP phone for my virtual office. I have soft phone capabilities on my laptop. Hiscall provides me a mobile device and an enterprise mobile application to extend my company DID phone number to my mobile. I have personal audio, web, and video conference rooms. And I even have an Avaya Spaces room I use from time to time. Granted, I'm duplicating services on many of these options, but I like to be familiar with the different tools, and it affords me an opportunity to communicate in a way that works best for me wherever I'm working and the activities I'm engaged in for the day. As increasing numbers of employees work from home or from the road, we see the number of soft phones and mobile device usage increase. But the Avaya report indicates a desk phone is still the preferred business communications device. With each passing year, we consistently read and hear from analysts and industry experts the end of the desk phone is near. But that's not what the Avaya research would suggest to me, and frankly, it's not my experience while talking to our prospects and customers. While I can think of a few customers that have considered going off soft phones or even mobile devices only, I cannot think of any that have fully implemented a plan in that direction. Based upon Avaya's report and my experience, the desktop device remains the preferred communications device for most employees. In the Avaya report, over half of the respondents indicated a desktop phone was their primary device, and most used a dedicated phone. While most did use a dedicated phone, it is an interesting observation here that the percentage of users with a dedicated phone was lower and the shared phone usage higher for 2019 versus the 2018 results. And I suspect this is due to the expansion of the open floor concept we see many businesses adopting, where users are no longer assigned a dedicated office or cubicle, but share open office spaces and resources, including phones, for the day. The report also reinforces a growing mobile workforce, showing an increase in mobile phone usage. According to the report, 1 in 3 business communicators use a mobile phone as their primary business communications device. As you might guess, mobile phone usage seems related in some degree to the age of the employee. According to the report, the younger age group, those 18 to 29, is most likely to use their mobile phone as their primary communications device. Based upon the high percentage of dedicated phone usage reported, Avaya does provide an interesting perspective stating the high percentage of dedicated phones provides an opportunity to personalize the devices. And I agree it can be effective to personalize the phone based upon user preferences, roles, or work styles. Allowing users to make their own personalizations can contribute to employee satisfaction. Even a simple background picture on the phone can provide an employee the option to select something that is more pleasing to them. More important is the ability to self-administer some of the phone options so the device responds in a way that works best for the phone user. Using myself as an example, the background on my IP phone in my office is a picture of a barn that reminds me of looking out the back window of my house at my own barn. Additionally, the Mitel My Voice Connect client provides an easy way for me to further personalize my phone settings. For example, I can easily change my phone's behavior based upon availability. I can program it to ring my desk phone, simultaneously ring my mobile device. It could even prompt a caller to press 1 to find me at another number or go directly to voicemail, all depending upon my availability state. Am I in a meeting, out of the office, on vacation? I can even configure a rule to treat a specific number differently from other calling numbers. I can complete all of this from the same client I use to make and receive calls or message my contacts. While the desk phone seems to still reign supreme, the report results do show an increase in soft phone usage. When asked if they use a soft phone at work, 2019 soft phone usage overall increased versus the 2018 results. Now, I have to admit, though, I was a little surprised by the results. According to both the 2018 and 2019 reports, many reported not even having access to a soft phone application. While the overall number of users in the report not having access to soft phones did decline for the 2019 report, it's still surprising to me that over half of the employees did not have access to one. I mean, we've been talking and positioning soft phones for a long time, and according to the survey, so few reported having access to one. With that said, however, I am reminded that I am working with a customer right now that is just beginning to roll out a VIA 1X communicator soft phone for some of their users to facilitate a work at home initiative. This is an existing Avaya customer, and they've had access and soft phone licenses for a long time, but they hadn't rolled out the application until recently. And I bet if you asked, the majority of their employees would say they did not have access to a soft phone application. Working from home does seem to drive soft phone usage. The report indicates soft phone usage is higher for employees working from home. And this makes sense. It's simpler for businesses and easier for IT to manage sending an employee home for work with a laptop and soft phone client and USB headset than sending them home with a physical device to connect and try to get on the network. Considering my own usage, I generally prefer a desk phone. I tend to make calls while my PC is booting up. And as I mentioned earlier, I have access to a soft phone and I do use it with a USB headset at times as needed. I do operate the Connect desktop client application every day to manage my desk phone, check coworker availability, or send a quick message. I also run the Connect client in my Chrome browser. It also controls my phone and provides many of the features of the desktop client. I work much of the day in a web browser, so it's convenient for me to have the Connect client in the browser where I spend a good part of my time. I agree with Avaya's perspective in the report that we can expect desk phones and soft phone applications to coexist in most businesses for a while. The report also highlights some areas of improvement to a business communications experience. The survey allowed respondents to select the changes they would make to their phone or other communications device. In 2018 and 2019, the top 3 changes identified were a higher quality audio experience, one-touch access to things users want to do, and the ability to send and receive text and chat messages. You know, for a while, many years ago, I thought cell phone usage had lowered the bar on audio quality. It seemed that users were becoming accustomed to less than toll quality voice and dropped calls. However, I now believe the enhancements in cell technology bring high definition audio has raised the bar. There is a distinct difference in the sound quality of an HD call. Last year, we heard Tina from Sangoma talk about the HD quality voice to their new phones. In my own experience, I also appreciate the HD quality voice delivered with wideband codecs to the phones at our offices. It is a better user experience to clearly hear the person on the other end of the line. Additionally, one-touch access to things I want to do is a big benefit. Since I spend much of my time during the day in a web browser, I like to just click a phone number on a web page to place a call. I also much appreciate the ability to just click and join an audio web conference without the requirement to enter a participant code. I hope you find this information presented today interesting and worth your time for listening. But ultimately, what do you do with this knowledge? Look, I'm not going to say that desk phones may not one day go the way of thermal fax paper and the business fax machine, but the report does highlight the importance of considering your users when selecting communication devices. Depending upon your user's age, work location, work roles, and communication preferences, They may be more productive and enjoy their work more if you provide different options for device usage instead of forcing them to communicate like everybody else. If you would like more detailed information contained in Avaya's report, including conferencing, check out the URL in the show notes for a link to download the report from Avaya. And I can't thank you enough for listening to the Hiscall Technology Podcast. What started as an idea a little over a year ago has been greatly supported by Hiscall, our vendor partners, and you, our listeners. I really had no idea where it would go or how much interest the podcast might generate. It has shocked me to see where the podcast has been downloaded. The Hiscall Technology Podcast has been downloaded all over the world, including about 20 different countries, some of which I had to even go to maps to know where it was located. Google Chrome is used by about 1 in 4 of our podcast users to download the podcast. We ended the year of the Hiscall Technology Podcast with 22 episodes. The most downloaded episode is a conversation with Hiscall President, CEO, Gary Luffman. This was our first podcast released January 15th, 2019. After this episode, the top 5 includes XM Connect, Enterprise Class Unified Communications. This is episode 12 with Xmedius. Spinetics, Every Picture Tells a Story, episode 16 is in the top 5. The Hiscall Technology Showcase 2019 Preview, episode 11 is number 4. And rounded out the top 5 is Tech Talk with Tony, episode 18. This is the most recent episode to quickly climb into the top 5, so check it out. We're slightly changing the release cadence for 2020. With this podcast, we will begin making new content available on the 1st and the 15th of each month. Some of my Hiscall teammates provided great ideas for content in the coming year. So keep listening in and we will bring you informative technology news and updates. I would love to hear your ideas as well. If you have not already, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified when new episodes become available. In addition to subscribing, I would much appreciate your positive feedback and comments. This helps spread the word and other users find the podcast. I've heard the closing encouraged some of you, so I will continue to close out each episode this year as previous. Don't be afraid, only believe.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Hiscall Technology Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast so you can stay up to date with today's business communication trends. To learn more about Hiscall solutions for your business needs or to listen to previous podcasts, visit us at our website, hiscall.com.